Magic the Gathering is among the greatest card games ever made and the most complex ever, but first and foremost, it's still a collectible card game, so while the game is very fun and the mechanics are always super interesting, some people only pursue the collection aspect of the game. The fundamentals of Magic in the game itself are null to some people because there are a ton of cards in Magic's history that holds an enormous amount of wealth behind them. The most famous example, of course, being Black Lotus, a card that literally only saw prints during the game's limited alpha, beta, and unlimited edition. Now granted, all the cards found in the alpha, beta, and unlimited editions, unless reprinted, have some sort of immense value, but Black Lotus is special. This card has sold for $166,000 in a recent auction earlier this year. Yeah, a lot of money for a piece of cardboard, but why is it worth so much? Well, aside from only seeing a few prints during the game's genesis, it is amongst the Power 9, a set of elusive cards that are said to be the most powerful cards in all of Magic history. Those cards also never seeing reprints, unless of course you count the MTG Online reprints as reprints, but whatever. But so it's because of its power and its exclusivity, and just for the fact that it's probably the most legendary and talked about Magic card ever, that makes Black Lotus so valuable. And if you're a scrub to the game thinking that this card will ever get reprinted, sorry, but Wizards of the Coast has an incredibly strict policy on reprints and will never ever reprint certain cards for as long as we live. So either go hunting for the alpha, beta, or unlimited packs, or just buy one. Yeah, just buy one. Who am I kidding? But me talking about rare cards isn't really what Boosemas is about, right? I mean, Boosemas talks about unreleased stuff, unreleased content that some, if not everybody, has never seen or played with before. And technically, while most people have never seen or even touched Black Lotus in real life, it's still obtainable if you're either really lucky or really rich, or if you're a filthy fucking thief. Well, the same could be said about most of what I talk about, especially the international games that were never released here in the States. So I'm just going to be loose here and say that I can talk about rare and unreleased Magic cards because, let's face it, you've got more of a chance to buy a Satellaview than you ever will a Black Lotus card. Now, before I get into these cards, I would like to briefly mention that the cards won't really be talked about too much, like the mechanics of what they hold. I'm not really a very good Magic player, so I don't want to give my own input on these cards as if I know what they're good for or what they should be used for or whatever. I'm just a casual idiot that sometimes likes to play Pauper. Leave me alone. Side note, this video was originally going to talk about the unreleased, unhinged, and unglued cards, but I felt that was too obscure, so I won't cover those. But if this video does do well, I'll probably maybe do a video on them later in Boosemas. Let's say about 20,000 views and I'll cover it. Why not? Side note, I'm a bit behind with Boosemas, so I hope you understand why this video wasn't very heavily edited. Gomene, I apologize, disculpame, I'll try my best to catch up. The first card up is one by the name of the Mana Crypt, a card that was randomly distributed to people by Wizards of the Coast via a coupon found on the back of the book of Final Sacrifice that was originally going to be printed in 1995. One of several cards that were sent to lucky people that mailed their coupons. Final Sacrifice was one of 5 books in a series of novels published by Harper Prism that had this promotion. Each book had the coupon on the back that gave you a different card depending on which book coupon you sent. Final Sacrifice wasn't the only book you could get Mana Crypt, as the Cursed Land also had an offering that got rid of remaining unclaimed cards and could technically give you the Mana Crypt as a reward, but unlike Final Sacrifice, where Mana Crypt was 100% guaranteed, Cursed Land would give out a random card from one of the previous books in the series, so it wasn't very likely that you were going to get it. All of these cards are reprints of older cards or saw reprints in future games, yet Mana Crypt never received this treatment until 2016 when it was officially printed in Vintage Masters. The average price for this thing is about $260 and the reprint is on average $180. Next up, the 1996 World Champion card, a comically overpowered Magic card that was given to the 1996 World Champion, Tom Chappenhang. Jesus, why am I can't pronounce anything. Only one of these cards was ever printed, making it one of MTG's rarest card ever. Every other copy of the card, plus the printing plate, was ceremoniously destroyed. It was apparently sold off for a whopping $200,000, and the current owner of the card is unknown. Similarly, there's the Fuku-Chan dragon, which was printed only once and was given to the DCI Tournament Center located in Japan. Yet, unlike World Champion's card, this one was given to just the store itself to commemorate the opening. Sadly, the store closed down in 2003, and the card was moved over to Hobby Japan head office, where it can currently be found. It has never been sold before, and I don't think one single person owns it, but I could only imagine if it were sold, it would probably be about $200,000 to $250,000. Next up, did you know that the Power 9 might have been the Power 10 at some point? Thanks to the unreleased Crystalline Mox, or better known as the Crystal Mox. It was play tested for Mirage, but ended up being scrapped for unknown reasons. Probably because it was a Mox, and probably going to break the game, I guess. The artwork was salvaged and later recycled for Enlightened Tutor though, so there's something. This one's really funny. It's Starburst, and it's a red card that never released that essentially made the opponent lose his or her next turn, yet it had poor wording that confused players. Opponent loses next turn. So do they lose on the next turn, or do they lose their next turn? You can only imagine why this never made to print, but also it was a red sorcery card, which, while not impossible, is a rarity for the red motif, so it probably wouldn't have fit the theme. Though if this one does seem familiar to you, that's because blue had a very similar yet infinitely better worded card called Time Walk, which was one of the Power 9 that allowed you to take an extra turn. Speaking of time walking, did you know that there were some plans to add a 6th additional color? It's true, if you play Magic, you should be familiar with all 5 of the Magic colors, red, blue, green, white, and black, but a 6th one, which was purple, was planned at some point. It first showed up as a prank by the gaming magazine Inquest back in 1997, yet eventually turned into a real concept for Planar Chaos. It was meant to invoke the alternate reality themes that Planar Chaos was going for, and it was meant to have cities or caves as its land, but eventually it was scrapped. Mark Rosewater has talked about the addition of a 6th color, and that it may be in the center of the color pie to represent a unity of color. He never specifically said that it was the color purple, but he does have some ideas on the 6th color that would be a combination of all colors that borrowed attributes from each other color on the pie. But Wizards scrapping an entire color probably isn't as crazy as them scrapping a whole expansion. It was called Spectral Chaos, and apparently it was the first multicolor expansion that was going to introduce the concept. In this set, multicolored cards of opposite colors were called Chaos cards and were a bit more nuanced mechanically by including just nutty rules like Life Geyser, where every player gained 100 life. There was an artifact card that ended the game once you used 20 mana to cast it and 10 mana to activate it. But craziest of them all was a card that was named after the expansion itself, Spectral Chaos, which costed 2 of each of the 5 colors to cast and made both players switch sides and attempt to win with their deck and hand. The opposite opponent's hand anyways. It's really a chaotic set and really ahead of its time. Eventually some of these mechanics would be reused for later sets, and there is a ton of info on the set found by one particular YouTuber who I'll leave in the description below if you're interested in finding out more info about this. There's no art or cards made for this set, so I had to use his video as B-roll. Now let's get into some cards that were made for promotional reasons, but not really. So, when The Sorcerer's Apprentice was being made, Wizards was approached by the filmmakers to make them exclusive cards for the film, but not to be distributed or sold or even won through contests, but just for props in the movie. There's this character named Drake Stone who's this lousy wizard that knows the bare minimum magic in order to become an illusionist. He's so famous and rich in this world that Magic the Gathering, or Wizards of the Coast in this matter, makes cards based off of him in the movie. They're not too bad looking, but would it be wrong if I said that they looked low effort? It just seems like they got headshots of the character and traced over him while adding some effects and backgrounds. It's definitely not the best looking cards, but it's also not the worst. Last but not least, the most elusive card of them all, Proposal. It's a card that was developed for only one person, and that person, of course, being Richard Garfield, also known as the creator of Magic the Gathering. This card was made to propose to his then-girlfriend Lily Wu. The story goes that he wanted to make the proposal special, so Richard asked Dave Howell, a designer for the game, to make a card for him to cast while the two of them played together. He also contacted Lily's favorite artist, Quentin Hoover, to design an original piece just for the card. The artwork reportedly had Richard kneeling down before Lily Wu while the two of them wore Renaissance-styled clothing. 2 out of 9 of the cards produced were apparently off-center and a bit shinier than other Magic cards, but otherwise they came out alright. Funny enough, while the two of them were playing a game together, it took Richard 4 games until he could finally draw the proposal card. During the 4th game, Lily Wu actually thought Richard would concede at some point, as she was a playtester and knew he had nothing that could make him win the match that they were playing. Then the card was cast, finally, and she said yes. The two of them merged their decks together and graveyards together as stated in the card, and both won the game and married soon after. And reportedly, that deck of cards that were merged together is still a deck of cards to this day. The remaining few cards that were produced were given to family and friends, yet sadly, Quentin Hoover, a recipient and artist of the card, had his copy stolen and its whereabouts remain unknown. The reason I saved this for last, other than its story and the meaning behind it, is that it's literally one of Magic's most elusive cards. Nobody other than the recipients and that one bitch thief have ever seen the card. And to be honest, nobody ever will, as the couple have told everyone who received the cards to not publish the artwork, as it is a personal treasure to them. They don't want it to be seen by other people other than themselves and their friends and family. So far, this has been respected, yet a scan of one version of the card was found, but the artwork was not included, so it still remains a mystery to this day, and that's kind of cool. Anyways, those were just a few Magic cards that never saw the light of day, and I know there are a ton that I didn't cover. But if you do want me to cover this topic again, I'd totally be down for it, but I'll let the view count decide for me. So make sure to share and like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and please enjoy the rest of Boosemas. We still got 18 more videos left to go, so enjoy the ride. See you guys soon. Love y'all. Bye.